There have been a lot of updates about 3i Atlas as we continue to wait for high resolution images. So, Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Avi Loeb and also the independent commentator Angry Astronaut have both argued the interstellar object 3i Atlas continues to defy natural comet physics, with new imagery and modeling strengthening the case for artificial or engineered origins. So it's interesting to me that as the data gets a little clearer, their positions are firming up. However, I do like to point out that Avi Loeb officially reduced his scale system that was a 4 out of 10 down to a 2 out of 10. But he also, reaffirms that he is waiting for some better imaging that is going to make or break that theory. So the latest observations include new high resolution imagery from November 16th, the Satu Marada. It shows a large structured tail with multiple directional jets, including one pointing directly toward the sun instead of away. The glow ahead of the object, the persistent anti-tail, appears to move in front of 3i Atlas as it travels. So there's an anti-tail pointing towards the sun because, remember, a cometary tail is because of the solar wind. So it should be, as it's orbiting or as it's passing the sun, the tail should extend from the comet out, but there's an anti-tail pushing towards the sun. But then there's also a tail that is in front of 3i Atlas, so the direction it's moving. That doesn't really make much sense when you apply it to the standard model of comets that as we understand them. So the sunward jet is a rare jet pointing against solar wind dynamics. We think there's a forward jet. It's also the extreme speed in itself is an anomaly. It's the fastest object that's ever been observed. As far as like an interstellar object or an asteroid or a comet, this is the fastest one. It's at 42 miles per second at perihelion. And then the whole thing about perihelion is at that point, it's closest to the sun. It's absorbing all this energy from the sun. It's typically destructive on some level. Yet 3i Atlas, unlike typical comets, remained intact, stable, and follows its predicted course with only subtle microgravity accelerations. So Avi Loeb and his team proposed a geometry explaining the anti-tail because the main accelerating body pushed slightly away from the sun, and that there could be a surrounding swarm of non-evaporating, non-accelerating particles that appear sunward relative to the nucleus. A swarm of tiny objects could reflect 99% of the sunlight seen, explaining its massive persistent coma with minimal mass. So a theory is emerging that there's some sort of companion objects with it, which was originally thought at perihelion, but we just couldn't get a good image of it. And now it's starting, at least in theory, it's starting to make sense that might explain its resistance to the solar wind. So rhythmically shifting plasma tail and jet formations resemble responses seen in radio frequency scanning of plasma. So that's a known. Sunward jet and flaring structures mimic antenna-like behavior. Could it be active sensing? Could it be some sort of active emissions? That's what Avi and Angry Astronaut are both thinking about. And there's this speculative framework called the von Neumann self-replication framework, which is basically resource harvesting. And it's this theory that something like this, as it's traveling, they can't, like, let's say it was alien, they can't pack enough stuff on board for its entire trip. So it has to harvest as it goes. and there's a possibility theoretically that that's what it's doing. And all of these theories have kind of distilled down and have led some of these commentators to describe 3i Atlas as a potential probe, a mothership, or just a resource collecting system. Now, NASA really hasn't released all the high rise images yet that could really clear this up. And remember, I told you, in absence of good data, we're going to have speculation, and the speculation's getting wild. I'm trying to track it, I'm trying to understand it all, and just for myself to either disprove it or go, that's interesting. And we don't have the high res imaging yet. And here it is, December 4th. I thought by now we'd have some pretty good images. It hadn't happened yet. That's sparking claims of suppression and possibly what we would call unprecedented data withholding from the public. Now, there was a short radio pulse near the 1420 megahertz hydrogen line that has now got SETI's attention. Now, SETI has this rule about it has to happen twice or it's a white noise, but the fact that it pulsed is interesting. Like, we're not used to comets pulsing, and that's the frequency that SETI monitors, thinking that if something artificial and alien were to broadcast, that's going to be a logical frequency, and it just pulsed at that frequency. So I laugh because 3i Atlas has so many odd things about it, so many things, and in the void of hard data, like a really good high-res image, people are going to speculate, and man, are they speculating. Now, global powers are allegedly monitoring this object for strategic or technological advantage. That's some of the, I guess you would call, rumors that are coming out there. There's a lot going on with geopolitical space industry markets. It's really getting competitive, and who can stake their claim are going to have an advantage. And is 3i Atlas signaling something that should get our attention from a space industry standpoint? I guarantee you all eyes are on 3i Atlas for this reason. So we're kind of at this intersection between courageous inquiry, like asking these questions, and then kind of a conservative orthodoxy across academia and NASA and just the government entities, and it's kind of increasingly seen. 3i Atlas is increasingly seen as a cultural mirror. Like it's humanity's curiosity, our anxiety, and competition over the meaning of potential extraterrestrial technology. And it's one problem to have the lack of evidence, but we're not getting engagement that we can see from NASA, the European Space Agency, other country space agencies, where we're not seeing, do they have any imagination about this? Do they have any institutional courage? Or is it all just laugh everything off and call it a normal comet, and that, this is all wild speculation? And look, on the far end of the spectrum, there's a lot of crazy speculation, planet terraforming and probes and all of it's unsubstantiated. And I just point out that with a lack of any good imaging, this is going to happen. But I follow Avi Loeb pretty close. I probably read or watch something of his every day on this subject. Angry Astronaut is a good resource. Dobsonian Power, he goes live every day with the best images that he can put up there, and he continues to identify anomalies. These guys all are saying that it feels artificial to them for all these reasons, right? And we're in that window now. Like December 19th is the closest flyby with Earth. I shouldn't call it a flyby. It's just the way the past. Three Eye Atlas is going this way, and Earth is going this way, and there's a point where it's closest. And we should be getting some images like any day. Like I expect any day now some really good images to come across from these government sponsored ground based observation stations. But instead, we're getting all of our data from amateurs and some really good images coming in from amateurs. And there's a couple of those out there that I haven't even really touched on. There's a guy with a YouTube channel that has a really good telescope setup, and he's the person that has gave us our best images so far. He is now speculating that Three Eye Atlas is the size of Earth, right? So the size of this thing has been under speculation from day one. Is it 1 kilometer? Is it 5 kilometers? Is it 14 kilometers? Is it a solid core? Is it a minefield? Because that's basically what Avi and Angry Astronaut are now thinking, that there could be like this extended minefield around it, but they're arguing that it could have some smart characteristics, things that if we're even halfway right about it, there's no way it's natural. There's no way we've got a bunch of objects that are blocking the sun, so to speak, to protect the integrity of the structure of whatever Three Eye Atlas is. There's just no physical solution to that that's natural. Like that is going to really raise our awareness of something unusual, and maybe finally these governments and these agencies like NASA can give it a serious look and maybe have a real conversation about what's going on out there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's okay to say you don't know. You don't have to say that you know everything, right? You're not giving us a sense of comfort by saying, oh, don't worry, we're in complete control, we know everything. It's possible you don't know, right? That's what all this speculation is about, is because we don't know, and that's okay. We'll learn from it. And let me tell you that even through all this anomalies and all that, it could be that this is just a result of a different part of the universe, compounds, maybe substances that we just don't have here, that we don't understand the behavior. This could be quite a science lesson coming in here, right? And instead, we're just not getting the data that I feel like is out there. Like at this point, I feel like they have the images. They probably know more, and it's almost like that elitist academic attitude of we're not smart enough to handle the truth, or they're just going to keep the actual truth from us and give us this packaged version that keeps us, from melting down, I guess. But what they don't understand is these amateurs are giving us pretty good data, fueling speculation, and more it's looking like they're holding back some very important data, that it's bigger than just NASA or America. This is the world. This is everybody needs to learn from this. If we need to broaden our understanding of physics and science, then so be it. But don't be the gatekeeper of what could be the most important scientific astrophysical discovery of our lifetime. I guarantee you, for the rest of your life, you're going to be hearing about Three Eye Atlas, because this thing is monumental in difference from anything we've ever seen before.